my job is really interesting in that, like, yes, it's awesome. I love being a diagnostician. I love finding out what's going on, figuring out rare stuff, whatever. But the real core of my job is actually to decide, are you dying? Like, where do you need to go? Like, are you at risk of dying today? Do you need to be in the hospital, or can you talk to your outpatient doctor about this? And so I think that, again, is where some of that, like, that thread of burnout comes in, where patients get upset because they want an answer. And it's like, hey, it's not that I'm trying to deprive you of an answer, but it's like, I'm not sure exactly what's going on with you, but I do feel very confident that you're safe, and here is why.
Right.
So, like, I have a whole spiel I give about, like, the heart.
All right, welcome to the Todd Boffo Show. We are here with my good friend, Joel, sorry, I said Joel Glotfelty. It's Dr. Joel now, Dr. Joel Glotfelty. Just landed. So glad to have you here in the Valley of the Sun.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm very excited to be here. I tell all the people at the hospital to please not call me Dr. Joel. And my patients don't get to know my last name because they always ask me where I'm from, and then it leads into this whole side thing, and I don't know why they're there.
Right. So wait, so you don't like it or you do like it?
You know, I'm cool with whatever people want, but I always tell, like, people that I'm working with is like, hey, kind of, we're all part of teams, so just, like, call me Joel. Like, we're all
And
peers
it's
and stuff.
respect. I get it from church world. You know, people like, oh, you got to call me pastor. I'll say the same thing. You don't have to call me pastor.
Yeah.
You know, like, I feel like the title that you give somebody, it's just a recognition of who they are.
Yeah.
So it is respectful. It's nice. She earned it. But let's not go overboard. You know, you're not a title. You know, like, nobody's that big. Like,
Right.
But I will call you Dr. Joel and Joel for the sake of this broadcast. I have known Joel since he was a little kid, and knew his parents from New Jersey. Used to live around the corner in big town Gibbsboro. Shout out, wah wah wah. But we were all, our families were close. I knew your dad, and of course your mom. I know, but your dad was part of our church, my dad's church, and had a great heart. And at a young age, we'll talk about that later, but passed away, unfortunately, with cancer. And you, your brother, and your two sisters ended up, you know, carrying on, and I've all moved forward, and especially you and your brother, we were always close. Man, I'll never forget those Monday nights sitting watching football. And what was the menu for football? What was it?
Wings and pizza.
Wings and pizza. If you're from Jersey, well, I guess everywhere, right? That's not just a Jersey things. But we had so much fun. But he actually is a big deal. So when he hates these, but he's won so many merit accolades. I'm not even going to read them because he doesn't want me to. He's been a top resident when he came out of Rutgers, and also ASIP, ER Student of the Year, along with many other things. I know what you're most proud of is your humanitarian stuff, and we'll get into some of those things. But I'm really grateful to have you here. And now you went through, you know, going in school. I remember us sitting there, and you were saying, coming out of high school, not the best student. Would we agree? I'm not putting you down. This is
I did miss multiple Super Bowls because I was grounded and not allowed to leave the house until I could get at least a series.
Eileen didn't play around.
No.
She was like, "We can't play." I remember you were like, "Please talk to my mom. Please let me play." And I was like, your mom was like, "No, no, I don't think so."
Dude, I'll never forget one time I got my D in physics, and I wasn't allowed to do anything right until I got at least a C in the next marking period. And so I'm like going out of my mind. I read all the books of the Twilight series, which was disappointing for me. And then I finally convinced my mom to let my friend, like one of my childhood friends, Greg, who you've met,
Greg,
come over. I was like, can you just come over if we just like bake something? We won't use any TV. We won't use any video games. Just
That's
like
funny.
And so she gave in on that one. But I don't know if a marking period is kind of a long time. It's a couple months.
Yeah, but I mean, you had a rough go in high school, man. Academically, you just wasn't anything that excited you.
Yeah.
I mean, you were a really good person. You like to have fun.
I guess
That
so.
part.
Yeah.
They don't give out social scores. They didn't do the same thing for me either.
Yeah.
But I remember when you said you were going to be a doctor, and at first it was almost like I kind of thought you were joking. Like that scene from Anchorman where they're like, "We laughed about it later. We thought you were joking." We were like, "She wants to be an anchor." How funny is that? And it was like, but truthfully, it wasn't because you weren't good or anything. It's just that because academically, like, it's so hard.
Yeah.
And you'd also mentioned you wanted to be a punter too, an NFL punter. So there was
was this close.
We were going through a couple things. So like, this could just be a passive thing.
Yeah.
And he just could be a sales guy, which is great eventually.
Yeah.
But no, that was it, man. And I mean, now you're emergency room doctor at Mayo Clinic Mankato, one of the most respected hospitals in the world, and high pressure environment. And how's it going so far? Like you did your residency in emergency rooms, but
Yeah.
like when you first got into it, you and I have had discussions, but I mean, it's a high pressure gig.
Yeah, man. It's I think there's nothing that really can prepare you for those first couple of days when you're solely by yourself. So, getting through the medical program, you're doing 4 years of medical school, then you're doing your residency where you're training. You always have someone that's more senior, someone that knows more above you, monitoring, watching out for you, looking out. And you don't realize probably how much you rely on just like looking over your shoulder and be like, right? Like I feel real confident about I'm gonna do this thing, right?
Right.
And then you get out on your own and you feel like a different weight where it's like, people that are coming in for so many different reasons. Maybe some are serious, maybe some are not, but they're looking to you and they're trusting that like what you're saying to them and the advice that you're giving, the things you're doing for them, that you're taking their life seriously, right? As if it was your very own. And so I think the weight of that really hit me in those first couple of shifts where I was like, there's not really anyone to like look over my shoulder and be like, right? Fortunately, my colleagues are awesome, and so I could like go around the corner, find someone, just be like, "This is what I'm thinking." But it's a different experience. I think you can't, I didn't fully understand it until I felt the weight of like, hey man, these life and death decisions, they're on me now. And so now it's time to like, trust and believe in all the preparation that we did to get here, and know that you're trying to do the best thing you can for the patient.
Right. And you almost have to know about every discipline in a way, right? Is that the best way to describe it?
Yeah, yeah. I always, I don't, sometimes it doesn't land with some of my patients, and I can tell if we're going to vibe or not based on this, but I'll usually be like, man, you're in luck. I'm like the second best at everything. And they're like, what? And they're like, if you have an eye problem, I'm the second best. Like, I'm not an ophthalmologist, but I'm like, I'm the second best because we do a lot of eye stuff. Yeah. So it's like anything can walk in the door. You have to be ready. I've delivered multiple babies in the emergency room. I delivered a baby outside one time. Like anything can come in. You can come
Like in the parking lot?
Yeah, yeah, crazy. It was in like the ambulance. They were like, trying to get her out of the ambulance. Yeah, I mean, I can't give a lot of details, obviously, but it was in the parking lot.
Wow.
And people that came in that had a fall and a stick got stuck in their eyeball, like just crazy. Anything can come in.
To the people that just have mental issues and like they're saying something's wrong and it's not something
Yes,
wrong, right?
yeah. I've had some of those. They sneak in here and there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's So yeah, you have to really, I think be disciplined and just being one like humble and honest with yourself about like what you know and what you need to know. And be willing to keep working, every day. So like I still study, like it was kind of like a joke with me and my wife, but I studied every single day of residency as if I was still in medical school. And I studied every single day since I've graduated as if I'm still in medical school.
Oh,
still
really?
training.
Okay.
Just because, you never know what's going to walk through. And I think that I would never want a bad outcome to occur just because, I, wasn't willing to put in the work, that same work that I took to get here. I try to kind of carry that with me every day. So
Well, that's a good point because I mean, clearly you're in high school. You're not that juiced about it. You're there, but you're not trying to get good grades. What was the turning point for you? What was that switch that flipped in your head?
yeah,
That just because I knew you, so it was like I knew you this stage and then knew you there, and it was like because you had to dig out. You didn't just go right from high school to some great medical school. Like you had a journey. And for people watching this, anybody that's going through something and maybe you've gotten knocked down or maybe you got a big dream and it's bigger than where you are right now. You don't have a silver spoon in your mouth. You don't have a quick pass to get there, but it's possible because, I mean, your story really is. It's a great story of almost what could seem impossible for a lot of people and a lot of reasons to give up. But what was that switch? What flipped?
Yeah, I think, like you said, going through school, like I was homeschooled when I was younger. I think my mom did a great job and got into regular school and it was hard to stay focused. And I think like when I kind of look back at it, it was, I don't really think I ever fully understood what the power of like academics could give, like the doors that it could open. And so I just kind of like messed around. Like I never really studied. I didn't really do much. I love sports. I would.
I mean, you studied a lot for,
Other stuff, right? Like, yeah.
fantasy football. You were pretty dialed
Exactly.
in.
I could name like every player. Like in my high school, this is like a real thing. In high school, kids would come up to me and they would give me a number, like 31 defense, and I would be like Jason Sehorn, New York Giants, whatever, and I would be able to guess it, like Rain Man.
Right.
But I think the switch was like, I got out, and my mom was like, I really want you to go to college. If you're gonna live at home, I want you to go. And so I went to Rutgers in Camden. And I didn't have any dreams or aspirations. I was working in the restaurant and I was doing the kitchen remodeling. I was making some money, which was like more than like I had ever had before.
Right.
And so I'm like, this is good enough for me. Like, this is what I want. Like, I can buy things that I need. I'm good. And so I just went into business because that's what my older brother did. I looked up to him a bunch. Like, I'll do business like Brian. And I was bored out of my mind. It didn't make any sense. And I feel like there were a lot of knowledge gaps. So I just kind of like stopped. I wasn't really trying very hard. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't doing well. So I failed out. And then like this story is obviously super long, but I ended up failing out like 3 different times. Twice from Rutgers, once from like a community college, which is it's
You mean
hard to do.
Blackwood
Yeah,
U? We call that Blackwood University.
Yeah, so I think the switch flipped. It's like, you know, like sometimes you have those moments that like they're just ingrained in your brain forever. And I could play this back a million times, and it feels like I'm still there. And it was just like my mom wanted to go to Masso's Water Ice, which I'm sure you remember.
Yeah,
It
of
was
course.
pro
Yeah,
staple. So we go there. I don't know exactly how we got on the topic, but we started talking about things, and I just like got real upset and just kind of like broke down and started crying. I was like, I am like gonna be a failure. Like I'm gonna be nothing. I failed out of school so many times. I'm going nowhere. I don't really have any future at all. Like I'm working these kind of odd jobs, and I've done good at them, but I don't see any way to move forward. And I just like was talking to my mom. I feel like I just like my life ends here, and I didn't do anything, and I don't know like who I am or what I'm gonna be. And like it was like that was kind of that switch that flipped where I was like, you know, I've always been someone that when something bad happens, you know, certainly will feel what I need to feel. And maybe my instant reaction is not always the best, right? You get upset, whatever. And so in that moment, I was sad, I was upset. But I take a minute and I think about it. I'm like, what do I do about it? And that was like the switch that flipped. I was like, well, I'm not actually a failure yet. Like, and failure is like, it's really subjective. But to me, failing was, you know, never like failing out 3 times and not going back for a 4th. That to me was like, I've just settled down. I never showed that I could succeed in this avenue. And so I think that switch that flipped, that was like, okay, like I'm not actually a failure yet. I've just failed. And so if I look at these things and I can tell myself honestly, have I ever given it everything I have? And the answer was no. And so when I realized that, I'm like, I'm not a failure. I've just failed. And I've never really given this everything that I have. And that's why I made that decision to just be like, you know what? I'm moving down to North Carolina. My younger sister got to ECU before me. I tried to go, but I didn't get in because I was academically ineligible. But I was like, I'm going to move down there and just start finding a way. And I think that was that moment where I was like, I've decided this and this will happen. I just don't know how yet. I just got to keep working at it.
So how many years, like, what's the normal path for somebody to do what you did? Like your
So-
average people in your class, how long are they in? And then what was how many years did you put in to
So I
get to
think
the same
a
spot?
great way to explain this is me and my wonderful wife both just started our first ever jobs as
Shout out to his wife, Sam,
Yeah.
who's also a doctor.
Yes.
But she's amazing.
Yes.
But
And so we both started we're both in our first ever attending physician jobs. That's our first ever solo practice. Like we're working by ourselves. We won't have to clear anything with anyone. We practice our own kind of medicine. And I'm 36. I'll be 37 next month, right? And Sam just turned 29 on August 17th.
Right.
So if you think about the timeline difference, you're looking at like a solid almost 8 years there, right? We're about 7 years and 11 months
Right. Of a
apart, and yet we're at the exact same stage. We were in the same class in medical school once I came back to join a new class, and so you know I put quite a few years on hold there. I would
Yeah.
say.
But don't you think like even those extra years, still education, because you're more mature,
Yeah.
it probably help you in many different ways.
Right.
So what do you think, how is leadership different in that high pressure environment? And I think I talked to you about this. I was like, hey, what's a good show? I started watching Pitt. So Pitt is streaming and it's a show about the ER. That's pretty accurate. I mean, it's a show, but would you say?
Yeah, I mean,
fairly?
I think it's really cool. It's fun to watch because if you watch it from like my perspective, you see that like if you're studying for a boards exam, they're hitting all the buzzwords that would show up on your boards exam. And it's cool because some of the consultants that they have work with the show are people that actually like make questions for boards. And so there's definitely a ton of like very accurate, very like if you work in the emergency room, you will understand a lot of it. And then of course there's parts that are like, you know, going to be built up for television,
Right.
and things that you know I'm sure they're going to work and develop on and tweak. But I think it's such a really like beautiful representation of what a day can really look like in the emergency room, which is that like anything can happen.
So how do you think like, because clearly with all doctors, I think probably, I don't know what the statistics are, but sometimes in that environment, like some people feel, oh, they're not always compassionate or they're not always feel. But then again, you got a million different cases you're trying to attend to, and somebody may not be life threatening, but it's really painful to them.
Yeah.
And you're trying to navigate. So how does somebody keep compassion alive while they're managing this pace and just the pressure of that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple components to it. I think one of the things that you see when you start to see like what you would say is like a lack of compassion or a lack of empathy or whatever, you know, however we want to describe it, is a lot of times it's the physician that just feels kind of generally burnt out. And that can happen, like think about it, right? It's
Right, in every
been-
career.
Yeah. So like think about it, I started this journey where I decided I wanted to go to medical school in 2011. It's 2025 and I am now actually practicing.
Right.
There's a lot of time there where you're working hard, you're not getting paid
Mhm.
well. Sometimes you're in like toxic environments, learning environments, and you're trying to stay with this like altruistic value that you started with, but it can get really hard to hold on to that. And so, I got to do like a little talk with my residency about this, about burnout and wellness and stuff.
Mhm.
And for me, it kind of summed up to I think that you start to see a loss of compassion or that burnout component when the things that you're doing, right, the things you're spending your time on, the decisions you're making, and what you're doing is not in line with your core values. And I think when you start to see that like slip with people, you start to see that burnout and we start to see that loss of compassion. So I had kind of challenged my co-residents to be like, think about what your core values are and ask yourself if the way you're spending your time, your energy, and your resources is in line with that.
Right.
And if you spend some time there, you yourself start to get more well, and then
Right.
you are a better person for your patients. And I think the other thing that you really have to try to remember is like, yes, not everything that comes into the emergency room is life threatening, but I'll have this conversation with my patients every day. Cause like I had a patient the other day that was like, thank you so much for not making me feel like this is all in my head. And I was like, my job is not to decide whether your pain is real or not. It's to decide if you're safe or not. Like I don't need to tell you that this is real or made up or whatever. And I think when you try to do that and be like, you're not hurting, this isn't real, you can go
Right.
home. When you have that mentality, right, that's where patients feel like you don't care and there is no compassion. If you can challenge yourself to be like, hey,
Yeah.
that's not even my job, right?
Well, and I think what's solving most problems with another person, whether it's a relationship, marriage, dating, whatever, or even in working with a client or patient, when there's a problem, one of the things I have to really try to do well is make the problems here, and we're both try to be on the same side to solve the problem, right? Let's just try to solve the problem. Yeah, some obviously it could be in you, but the more I feel like the more you can do it, it's a great leadership principle. It's just a great principle for life because life is frustrating and things can happen.
Yeah.
But when people feel empathy or feel like we're on the same side, obviously it goes a lot easier. What do you think makes? Oh, real quick, what is the like success rate of ER doctors? Like, is there a big burnout rate? I mean, I would imagine it would be high, but what is it?
I think, and I absolutely, my intent here is not to misquote the statistic because I don't fully know, but I'm fairly
You could say you've
certain.
been told.
I'm fairly certain. Well, we get like emails that'll be like, here's the physician burnout rates for this year. And I'm
okay.
fairly certain emergency medicine is at the very top. If it's
Okay.
not at the top, it's in like the top 3. And the percentage difference is like pretty drastic
Gotcha.
from some of like the, better lifestyle jobs versus emergency medicine. And I think, a lot of that is just due to like the demand that is on you because the medical system can be really challenging and you could have
Right.
a problem that is a little bit niche and you need to be with a specialist and you can't get into one and now you're exhausted and you're tired. And so you're coming the only place that can't say no, that's going to see you.
Right.
And then I don't really have the ability to give you the answer. And so sometimes patients can get really upset and it makes sense.
Right.
But that, there's so many things together. Again,
I
that
think
can
about all
cause
the
that.
different kinds of doctors that people like after a while, you would just be like, might be like, not want to do it, but like is butt doctors up there real high.
But
So I feel like that would be like something after a while. People are
Talking
like,
about
I
like
don't
a-
want to do this anymore. I feel like it's like a black
Talking about
hole.
like a
It's not going
proctologist?
nowhere. Like, it's not going.
It's a literal,
Keep doing that.
literal hole.
I'm
yeah.
just joking.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
joking.
no.
Don't send email.
I think they have a good lifestyle. Actually, I think like GI docs and proctologists, they actually
Yeah.
because they're procedure based, so I think they like their life.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, what we talked about mindset before
Mm-hmm.
about like shifting this mindset, and you and I have talked about this with people in general, where just a lot of people do have like a victim mentality.
Mhm.
You can be a victim. People are victims of things. That
Right.
doesn't mean that I am living as a victim or being victimized, but I am just a victim. That's different. Being victimized and then living as a victim.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people just tend to hit ceilings in life. We all do. I do. Like, and it's not God. It's I put this on myself. So is there anything like on the science side of this, like like neurologically or like with the power of thoughts, the power of like positive thinking or like being able to shift some mindset? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's good evidence that that is a real concept, right? And one thing I would kind of bring up to sort of, create like a parallel is if you think about if you've ever heard of like phantom pain. So let's say you, for whatever reason, have to get a limb removed. and
Yeah, like my
you're
dad, he's missing a leg.
exactly. So your
Yeah,
dad's
just
missing his
an
leg. He
example.
got an amputation,
Yeah.
and sometimes you'll see in those patients it's very common for them to feel pain in that leg. They feel like their foot is hurting on the left side, and they don't even have a leg on that left side.
Right.
And it's because of that similar concept. Like your brain is incredibly powerful. We know this, and we know that it's not making up symptoms, but it thinks that it's feeling something. It's sensitive to something. It's reacting to something. And so I think that, if our brain has the ability to feel pain in an appendage that's no longer with us, it certainly has the ability to set boundaries and set limits and set ceilings on us that make us feel like we can't go any further than we are, that we're
Is
kind of
that
stuck
because it's
there.
trying to protect
I think
the
so.
host, so to speak?
I mean, I think there's probably so many like wonderful like psychological explanations and chemical explanations for it that would probably be above my scope of training.
Mhm.
But I mean, even non-medically, like looking at it, I would say, it makes sense, right? Like, yeah, your body is going to do things to protect you. That's why if you've ever heard this before, it's like a person that is intoxicated and gets in a car accident, their injuries are very often way less significant than someone that was stone cold sober and gets in a car accident. And the reason is they're not tense when their accident occurs. Whereas you and I get really tense. We're trying to protect ourselves.
Right.
And that same thing can happen is like, it was kind of the story I told myself, right? Like I used to be like, well, I never really failed. I just didn't really try. I didn't want to. So I could be great. I could be amazing. But it's on me. I chose not to be. And that was like leading up to that tipping point where I was like, well, I can't be okay with that anymore. I can't just say maybe I could have done something because there's no evidence that I could have done that. I've just been
Right.
convincing myself that.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, because everybody's going to face that battle in some way, shape, or form on some level, and it's an inside job.
Yeah.
You're the only one that I can know. I'm the only one. The man in the mirror is the only one that can change that programming.
Yeah.
Because it's a programming, it's a habit, it's whatever we want to call it, and the mind is powerful. The mind is creative. It's like we have a lot more ability, I think, than what we tap into. But when you settle and you accept. Like we all have in life what we accept.
Yeah.
We don't have in life what we want. We have what we accept. Now, if we want more, that means I got to shift something to have more. If I want something new, I have to do something new. So, so even for you, I mean, we talk about academics, struggles and going through. It was like worked out really well. You pushed through and mindset.
Yeah.
Because I remember talking to you doing different phases of it, where it was like you still had a positive mindset through the ups and downs, whatever the struggles were, that you've had to go through. But how would you, what, when your dad died, your dad made me a ring, which was amazing. It was my wedding ring, which I ended up losing, which is terrible, which happens all the time. But be that as it may, let's just stick with a nice moment where we're down in Philly, went down to Sampson Street. Anybody who's from Philly knows Jewelers Row. Went down there. He met me down there. We went down the bottom. He's like, oh, I got this really cool ring. And then all this stuff, and like super talented, just had a great heart to serve, and loved his family, loved his wife, like all these things. But I mean, how old were you when you lost your dad?
13.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was 2001, August 2001. So I guess I was just about to be 13. So I was 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, man. I got the birth date and the day he passed away reverse. So it was in November. So yeah, I was 13. I just turned 13 like a couple weeks before.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you like, what kind of effect do you think that's had on you, like as far as drive goes, and even pursuing what you have?
I mean, I think it's so interesting because, like, I think, I try very careful not to retrofit things to the event because it's like at the time I was 13 years old, I didn't know how to process it, and
Right.
certainly nothing that I did felt like it was coming from that. Like, I just like I'm not developed enough to know, but I think that I've noticed how it affects me more like now over these last few years, like you said, the drive and getting here, and kind of being where I am by sort of looking at this great example that I had and not looking at it through like rose-colored glasses, looking at real life events of like how he acted and who he was and what his goal was, knowing that he was going to pass away, right? So like at 13, I didn't feel the weight of someone that was going through chemo that had no energy and yet was still staying up late to teach me how to make jewelry or still trying to like interact and play with us, have special moments with us. And so when, I had the brain injury that I had in med school, and I got stuck in that point where, kind of like cycle back to what you said before, where you're like, can your brain help you get somewhere? Can you see something? Like going through from failing out of college to getting here, I always had this like vision. When I decided it was going to happen, I could just see it, and you couldn't convince me elsewhere. Like even people that joke with me, I was like, I'm telling you, I can see myself walking into this place. I know that it's going to happen. And when I had that injury, I lost that. I remember I was talking to my mom, I was talking to my brother, and I was actually crying because like I can't see it anymore. I don't see it path back. And that's when I think the real impact that my dad had on me hit, because I started to think about it. I was like, dang, like I'm actually still alive, but my dream is like completely on the line. I'm like, how did he do what he did, right? Like chemo is hard, man.
Right.
And he's getting multiple rounds. He knows, like they know that it's not working.
It's not
like,
good. Yeah.
he knows there's a point where he knows he's gonna die. I can't, he didn't tell me that.
Right.
But
Right.
like knowing what I know now, there's a point that you know that you're gonna die, and yet I don't remember seeing any of that. Not
Right.
because I blacked it out, because like, yeah, I do remember him being sick and weak, but I remember that like the moments that he spent with me were dedicated to leaving like the legacy that he wanted.
Right.
And so that is why I think impacted me the most, because it made me challenge myself in these really hard moments where I had gone through so much to get this dream. And then I realized that without meaning to, like you could do everything right and your entire dream can get taken away from you. And then who are you and what do you have? And if you look in the mirror, and for me, I looked in the mirror and I was like, I haven't done enough with what I've been given. All the work that I've done, all the things I've been given to get here, like I missed something. And then it hit me. I was like, I missed what he was showing us, not with words, but with who he was. And so being able to pick up on that and be like, if I get another chance to come back and do things right, if my brain cooperates with me and I can get my memory to be strong enough and my vision and all that stuff back, then my focus and shift is going to be on like my actions and who I am are going to be to like honor that legacy and build my own.
Yeah.
And I think that's impacted me a lot.
Yeah, well, that was such a scary time, man. I remember that, and I was like, "Oh God, please let him be okay," because you had already died, going through ECU, going all through that. You're at Rutgers to pick up football, right? Fight because you had just a freak thing, got whacked in the head, and just a really bad concussion, but it just didn't go away, and that sidelined you, no pun intended, for what, like a year?
It was like a year and a half.
Yeah, and you weren't sure if you were going to. I remember you're like, dude, I'm hoping I can come back. Like, I got to sit in the dark. I can't be reading. I got to take a break from school. So it's like not just the school, not just the academics, not just loss of your dad, not just that you're really getting closer, at least your medical school. And then it's like, I don't even know if I'll be able to finish medical school. I don't even know like if I'm going to be able to think and read and do all these things or when that's going to happen. But here's the point. I think why that's powerful. What you just said is that we think in pictures. Everybody thinks in pictures. Like we're thinking of things, and anything that I want to imagine in the future, I'm creating it anyway. Nothing's happened, so we're always creating a picture of something.
Right.
It's like if I'm going to create a picture, if you're watching this and listening to this, you're creating a picture, an image of something that's not happened yet.
Yeah.
And that's what we all do every day. So if I'm going to do that, if I'm already going to go down that road because it's going to happen, why not create a picture that looks like where I want to be?
Yeah.
Why not create a picture, and people talk about this, I'm not an expert in this, but I know, and a lot of people are like, hey, let me picture of like, and I'm going to hold on to that picture. There's certain pictures we haven't achieved yet because we just haven't held on to them.
Right.
I mean, we've given up or we've been sidetracked, and these are all real things that nobody would have been mad or upset if you're like, hey man, I did this, but like I need to just drop out. Everybody would have been understanding, wouldn't have been like you quit, but you would have missed out. And so the challenge is like when I think, what are the pictures that I see? Because if they're not healthy, then that's what I'm going to get. Like, and I can't create every single thing in my life, but there are certain things when it comes to the big things in your life, you have to have a picture of it because everybody's going to have pushback. Everybody's going to have struggle. And that's why it's important to keep that image. And not only that, what you said was seeing yourself in it, feeling yourself in it. Like our strongest emotions are when they're tied to our strongest, memories are tied to an emotion, right? So that's why it's important. You're going to create something anyway.
Yeah.
Why not create what you want it to be?
Yeah.
And, so you were able to pivot in so many different areas. And then also you had a lot of good people in your life along the way too. Like you said, you had academic side, you had good, I don't know what they would be called, but like there's residents, teachers, or help. Like you just seem to be around like good people.
Dude, it's crazy, man. Every step of my life, and this is what like the core of I think who I am and what I try to do is just like is to be able to acknowledge that like there as much as like my I believe my talent is that I could just keep moving forward in some direction. And then what really happened is I had people that just kind of turned to me a little. I just walk in a straight line and someone's been like, dude, and then I'm walking more on course. I'm just amazing at just walking forward.
Right, right.
And so like thinking back to like, you know, not to be cheesy, right? But like thinking about after my dad passed away and me and Brian would come over your house, hang out.
Yeah.
Like those are invaluable moments to like have a friend, have someone like
Yeah.
that I could just feel like peace and just have fun with, like watching football, doing cool stuff. So like
Right.
from what my mom invested in me to what that you have done for me. And then I get to East Carolina and I call her Dr. Nell because that's how I met her. And now I
Right.
can't call her by her first name. But like, you know, when I got to East Carolina, I had started to create a little something for myself. I had like a little hype in my own head of like, I'm doing something, I'm getting good grades. But dude, I didn't understand the academic world at all. And this person picked me out of like a group and was like, this guy is doing really well in these courses. Who is he? She reached out to me, sent me like a phantom email. I ended up in one of her classes on accident. And then like we're now like literally like best friends. And she like, but she at that time connected me with different resources. Like, hey, she was the one that told me that I should wait one more year to graduate because then I could be an unbelievable candidate for med school. And I do believe if I wouldn't have listened, I probably wouldn't have got in because
Yeah, I
I
remember
had all
that.
those
Yeah.
bad grades with me. And she taught me patience, slow down, how to do the academic game. I get to UNC, same thing, right? Like my program director, Nikki Binns, just like had my back in all different times, put my name in the ring for different awards and things. And then even like over the last 2 years, I had an assistant program director named Colin Murray who like just is such a wonderful person and bought into what I do with FTR, right? And like helped like build resources and make these wonderful projects occur. So it's like I've just been kind of walking straight, and then you guys have all been like, oop, this way, this way, this way, and just helping
That's a
me
good
like
way to describe it.
identify
Same thing in my life, yeah.
resources. And yeah, it's really cool, man.
Well, and it's cool because, you know, you're building this platform, you got into this place, you have more money than you used to have. You know, you're doing stuff that you really are built to do. And I talk about this in the book Prince, you know, why you're made for more. That every single person has a print, it's unique, and like helping people get to that place where they're really truly living what they're designed for, that their organization is actually fulfilling a really big role. And it's not just the idea of philanthropy, although that's a piece of it, because it really is just about, we're not, a person is just made up, you know, think about that fingerprint. It's just a lot of layers there, right? So we're not just one thing. We're not what we do. We're not our job, but we're not just married or unmarried, not just male or female. Like we are this conglomerate of all these things. And if I can get that in alignment and start hitting on some stuff, like when I say wealthy, like be wealthy in finances is great, but be wealthy in relationships. Wealthy in my health. You know, I could be wealthy in, you know, what I contribute to this world. And so, you know, you touched on this, but you and your brother, you guys ended up starting something even before you graduated that really helps people because you had a heart to help. And I talk about this in my book. You're in the book. That'll be one of the chapters, everybody. So you get to see that more. But tell us about FTR, what it is, and then how it got started.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I mean, I wasn't trying to self-plug it, but I'm glad we get to talk about it a little bit. 'Cause
Yeah, for sure. No,
like
it's good.
such a core of like who I am and what I want to do. So, you know, back in you know, stepping back a minute when I was going through the rehab from this head injury and I was having a really hard time reading with my memory and I wasn't sure what to do. I got kind of faced with that reality of like, okay, like I said, if my dream gets taken away, if I've done everything I can and I lose this thing that I envisioned happening for me, what am I left with? And have I done enough with what I've been given and what people have invested in me? And when I was honest with myself and I felt like no, and I was like, when I come back, and I changed that from like if I come back to like when I come back, because I'm gonna do this somehow. When I come back, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And so I did what I talked to my other residents about. I thought about what are my core values? Like if everything's taken away from me and you can only remember me by one thing, two things, are those two things my core values?
That's good.
And one of those was what I learned from my dad, which was like service. So
Right.
at first I actually started this idea where I was having such a hard time, honestly, mentally with like the weight of like possibly losing this dream that I was just trying to create something to remind myself that I had been in dark places before and we made it. So how do I remind myself? So like I'm gonna make like a shirt with something on it. And I chose finish the race because that was like a biblical verse that had a lot of meaning for my dad, right?
Right.
And so I was like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna make
because let me just say this. I love what the essence of it. It's not the exact wording, but that, um, cancer didn't take his life.
right.
You know what I mean? He didn't give up the cancer, but like he finished his course
Yeah.
and he was going home to God. Like I think that is such a, I get emotional thinking about because it's such a great way because he didn't give up. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not taking my life. And I refuse to see it that way. I'm like, I've finished my race.
Yeah.
And nobody knows how long they have. I mean, some people live, you're in an ER.
Yeah.
I mean, some people live a year. Some people live 10. Some people live 5. Some people live 90. But like,
Yeah.
none of us know how long we're going to get it. So anyway, but it is important, whatever we have, we're finishing the race.
Yeah.
So you end up starting.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna make a shirt like for myself, just that says finish the race on it. It was so
Right.
I had these funny sketches of like when I was still doing the rehab for my eyes brain, and I was trying to sketch out a logo, and they're really funny. Like I have them on like our first Instagram post, but so I'm like gonna make myself a shirt, and I was like, you know what? But I know for a fact that I'm not the only person that I know that's really struggling. So like I'm gonna make this shirt, and then I'm gonna just buy a bunch of extras and give it to some of the people that I know that are struggling. And then I kind of put that idea out there, and like more people were interested in it than I thought. I was like, you know, what if like we could do something really good? So then I had the idea where I was like, I'm gonna do one bulk order. We're gonna make a shirt that says finish the race, and then we're just gonna take the proceeds of that and like buy some of like the community people that are like without food. We'll buy them a dinner or something. Like we'll pass out food. And then I talked to my brother, who is the business guy, and he's brilliant and smart. And he was like, you know, what if like I love this idea? And he was like really invested in it. He was like, what if we, because I was like, I think it's really cool. Like maybe we could do this yearly. And he was like,
Right.
what if we could do more though? Like what if we could make this a thing? And he was like, I don't really like know a bunch about the design stuff, but he was like, if you want to do this as like an actual nonprofit, we could set it up. And so we started having meetings on it. I was like, I'll learn the design. Dude, I would be at school doing my school. So like when I finally made it back, I got the rehab, I would go to school. And I would study, I would come home, I would study, and then I would spend like an hour or two at night on YouTube learning how to design logos, learning how to use like Adobe Illustrator, all this stuff. And I was like, we're gonna basically like make shirts, and the goal of the shirts is gonna be the same goal that I started with, which is just to remind you, we would like kind of say like to inspire hope, perseverance, to remind you that like, hey, like things are gonna happen, you're gonna get shaken. And if you can just look down and be like, oh yeah, when I was thinking clearly, when I thought ahead, I knew that this was going to be okay. And here's my remember, because I gave myself an emblem that's going to remind myself. And so I'm like, we're going to do that. And we're going to use these shirts and this clothing, and we're going to raise money and basically create a nonprofit and just start reinvesting in the community the same way that my dad taught us to, when he would pull over on the side of the road and help someone that didn't have gas, when he would go cut someone's lawn that couldn't afford to take care of it themselves. And all the things that he would do, I was like, we can now do that while also trying to inspire other people.
Right.
And so we decided to make it into like an official nonprofit and just start raising funds and just reinvesting all of it back. So there's every nonprofit has like 4 board members or whatever. My brother knows all that stuff. I'm just the design guy and the idea man. But we have all agreed, like no one's ever made a cent from it. We'll never take any money. Every dollar we get gets reinvested right back.
So one of the ways you do it is that like an organization, they can use you guys. So let's say they have merch.
Yeah.
So you create the store, the merch, you ship it out for them and all,
Yeah.
and then you just take a percentage of that. But you take that off their shoulders so they don't have to worry about it.
Right.
And then the money you make from that, you then direct it to other nonprofits.
Exactly. So we've kind of evolved a lot, right? Because you start something and you have no idea what you're doing. So like I started this from day one. Dude, you remember me? I used to wear a football jersey to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about clothes.
He was literally a groupie of Michael Vick. He wasn't just a jersey. He wore a Michael Vick jersey all the time in basketball shorts. It's like the only thing you ever wore.
Exactly. And then like, I mean, even to this day, right? You had to ask me to put pants on.
He had to
for
put
the
pants
podcast,
on.
'cause
He
I
doesn't
wore
have
shorts.
socks,
Yeah.
but he's got pants.
So like
Jacob doesn't have socks either, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's the thing, right? So I have no idea what I'm doing. And so you're trying to learn all these things. And so originally I was like, I wanted the nonprofit's mission to be what I feel like my mission was, which was like bringing everybody else up with me, like honoring all the people that invest in you, and then like giving that same thing back, being that person that can help redirect someone else.
Right.
And so I was like, instead of having a nonprofit where everyone that participates and donates, they're just donating to something that I personally care about, what if we had like a wide scope of things that we were involved in and we started shedding light on some smaller other nonprofits that needed fundraising or had great messages that we aligned with?
Right.
And that way you could choose where your funds going. You could buy something that helps to inspire you or someone else as a gift. And then also you get a choice as to like, hey, out of these 5 organizations, these 5 missions that you are like partnered with or associated with, like here's what I care about and would like my money to go to. And then
Gotcha.
we do that. And then we ended up keeping evolving, right? Because like we've
Mm-hmm.
learned like what works and what doesn't work. And so we had, even at UNC as a resident, like we started doing like sales of like UNC, like not official UNC, like, emergency medicine merchandise. And
Mm-hmm.
we do something like when the Western North Carolina hurricane hit, we did a fundraiser and people bought stuff. And like, we're putting all the proceeds into sending materials there. We
Right.
did one for Christmas, like a holiday one this past year. And we bought food, gas cards, and presents for 200 families, 400 kids, just
Well,
by being like, hey, we're dropping this merch. You
yeah.
buy it, and this is what it's all going
So
to.
here's the point. What I want to bring up with this is because sometimes people are thinking like, I gotta wait till I have enough money.
Mhm.
I gotta wait till I'm in the right status. I gotta wait till I'm in this certain position in life. Then I could go and help people. It's like, no, freaking start right now.
Yeah.
Start with maybe something that exists that you can jump in and help, or everything in life, as I say a lot of times, is a crawl, walk, run process. So even if you're crawling on a small scale, everything big started small. So I love it because it was like you didn't start when you're making all this money. You just started with a dream, a vision, thing you saw in your head. It was clear, and it's something you can do. And I want to, for everybody listening, there is something inside of every single person. You're not just here to give money. That's part of it. That is part of it, and growing your platform and all that. But there's something that you bring. There's a problem you're supposed to solve. Yes, that could make you $1 million and that could be great for your business. But what else besides that, outside of that, who else needs your print?
Yeah.
And when you're building for something, when you start thinking that way, now you're starting to build with legacy. You're starting to think you're building beyond your lifetime. And that's what happens at some point for a lot of people, especially with people that are drivers or, it just has a heart at some point. They're growing and maturing. It's like, I want to build for something that's beyond where I am today.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, in the book, I highlight a bunch of people, and you guys have started, several years, but I mean, I can't imagine what that's going to look like when you're 75, of all the people that you can help. But that's how it's like people just have to start
Yeah.
somewhere.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I think it's such like so much wisdom, right? Like when we started, I don't have anything. I didn't have any money. What do I have? Like I could work hard. So what if I just worked hard on trying to make a difference in the community that I'm living in?
Yeah.
That was what I had, and so it's cool. I think it's really wise words from you, and that's a great way to get started.
So what would you say, let me go back to, because you've shifted this, it's part of an outgrow of your life, with dealing with your dad. What advice would you give to somebody, maybe who's lost a parent or lost somebody, a loved one, and they're still trying to like figure out this next phase of life, or maybe even something that's still been hanging on from before when it happened?
Yeah. I think that it's hard because I think there's so many different things that you could say, but I think I always like to start with like having someone, making sure that someone knows that like you gotta feel what you gotta feel in that moment, right? And try to understand like what you're feeling, what happened. And then like as you're moving forward, like decide like what did that thing that you lost mean to you, right? And what can you learn from that? So like not like I need to come away with something tangible per se, but when I got old enough to realize like what did it mean to lose my dad? What did that mean to me? And what can I take from that? It meant that like, I lost something obviously invaluable and I didn't know how to process it. And then what could I take from that is like, I could take from that the type of man that I wanted to be. And so it wasn't like, if I do this better, then this could happen. It was like, hey, what did that mean to me? I mean, that meant everything to me. And there's something so important that I can take from it. And again, that can be the type of legacy, a type of person. So I would just say, there's not one way to process any type of loss. So be honest with yourself and just try to ask yourself, like, what did this thing I lost really mean to me? And is there something I can take from that helps
Right.
shape who I want to be moving forward?
Do you think all the stuff you've been through, or how do you think all the things you've been through has helped you be, or will help you continue to be a better ER doctor
I think, I said this kind of in my
compared
head.
to other people?
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is, right, like, not to, I don't want to not answer the question, but this is a very important thing for me. So I never, ever will compare myself to anybody else just because we had such different lives, so different stories. So when I will say this at every step of my training, I don't know what anybody else is doing. In school,
Right.
I don't know who scores what. I don't know what people are doing. I only knew what I was doing, not because I only care about myself,
Right.
but because like, I don't know
the
what
only
they
thing you
had to
can
go through.
control.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've heard you say stuff that I think you have, I want to say you have like an Instagram post about this, but like you you had said, I know your exact quote. It was like, never compare yourself to someone else's highlight reel because you don't know what it costs them to get there.
Right.
And so that's kind of how so when I look at what I've gone through that will make me what I hope to be is an amazing emergency medicine physician. It's not relative to anyone else. It's relative to what I think my abilities are. And I think the way that it shaped me is that it really taught me resilience, man. Like when things are going, like if you ever come into my ED, like there have been times where people have asked me, like if I think some of my old tanks were like not sure if I actually knew what I was doing because I was too calm. Like is he just like I was just waiting because I'm big, right? Like you won't shake me because I like what can you do to shake me now? I've already been
You already been through
I've
hell a
already
couple
had
times,
I've already had so many things happen. So now I think it's taught me how to be calm and how to be patient, right? And when you're calm and patient and you can breathe and you can think, then you can access all the information that you've worked so hard to learn. I think it's taught me how to not burn out, right? So that because dude, it can be frustrating if someone's mad at you and you think that they're safe and maybe don't have to be there. The instinct is to be like, why are you being mean to me? You're okay. And
Right.
so it challenged me. These things that I went through shaped me to be like, I don't have that same switch. I'm like, hey, I know what it's like to be like lost. I know what it's like to be scared. And so even if you're okay, I'm not going to burn out from this. I can still have compassion and empathy,
Right.
and we can talk about why I think you're okay and maybe what to do next and how I can support you. So I think it's taught me to be calm. It's taught me to understand how to lead a team and just how to
Right.
put my patient first and try to meet them where they're at, basically.
Right. So what's some of the funniest things in the ER that you've heard about from maybe other people, or funniest things to be asked or done or like or just happened? Like what are some of the funniest things?
It's interesting. I'm not. This is a tough one because I probably should study my rules more. I'm not exactly sure what all things I'm allowed to say out loud.
Not
So like
from what you've
stories
heard, but
I've
what about
heard.
if you've heard from
Yeah,
other
so like
people?
not patients that I've ever had or
Correct.
have any
Right. I know.
actual
I don't want to talk
interaction
about
with.
that.
Yeah.
But like, what's funny stuff that you've seen other people
I mean,
talk about?
it's
or
almost
heard?
always things that get stuck in body parts that don't belong there, right? Like that's the number one. That's the number one object is people coming in with really funny stories about things that ended up inside their body in some cavity that did not
Right.
belong.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say, I'd say there's quite a few tales of that.
Like
And-
more
and-
of like where it should have been an outflow of something and
Yes,
somebody
yes,
has made
yes.
it an input.
Yeah, and so there's in medical school there was a whole lunch lecture that was devoted to this. It was just
for real?
X-ray images of what people had in their bodies and,
Oh my
and
gosh.
how it got there. Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah.
So, what about anything? Is there ever any funny thing somebody's ever asked you?
I don't know. It's hard. I feel like the ER is like is a pretty serious place, to be honest. Like because like okay, I have had multiple patients ask me for not patients of mine. I've had theoretical patients that heard of patients that asked for foot massages. It's like my feet hurt. I've been walking around outside and I'm like, what? Like, yeah, no, like, and I'm like, well, I don't think they're infected. No, me either. But like, can you just like, like wait, what?
Medical function, right?
Or like, I need you can like coming in for something completely different. Like, I might be having a heart attack, and you're like, no, like everything looks good. We got you set up with a cardiologist appointment. You go, cool. Do you think you could take that wax out of my ear? And I'm like, this is also maybe not the best utilization of the
Right, our
resource. So,
time
yeah.
and resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, well, you said it interesting. It makes sense. You're there to see if they're safe or not. You're not there to just even, I might not be saying it right, you're not there to solve every problem or heal everyone, because really you're trying to heal things that are like life-threatening, correct? Or
Yeah.
maybe just then direct the people to what they need.
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting topic, and it's something I would love to be able to talk about like on any platform. But I think you can see a lot of frustration online with like the medical field, which makes sense, right? There's a lot of hoops to jump through, but one of them you'll sometimes see is like medical gaslighting, and sometimes that happens. Eventually, like someone saying like nothing's wrong with you, you're fine.
Right.
But you'll see a lot of the stories, and a lot of the times they involve the emergency room. Like I went, and they tell me I'm fine.
Right.
And that's where I think what you're saying is really true. Is like my job is really interesting in that, like, yes, it's awesome. I love being a diagnostician. I love finding out what's going on, figuring out rare stuff, whatever. But the real core of my job is actually to decide, are you dying? Like, where do you need to go? Like, are you at risk of dying today? Do you need to be in the hospital, or can you talk to your outpatient doctor about this? And so I think that again is where some of that that thread of burnout comes in, where patients get upset because they want an answer, and it's like, hey, it's not that I'm trying to deprive you of an answer. But it's like, I'm not sure exactly what's going on with you, but I do feel very confident that you're safe, and here's why.
Right.
So like I have a whole spiel I give about like the heart. I have like 3 phases, and I'll talk to my patient about like, here's the 3 phases I come at that from. And if we can check off all 3 of these, I don't know what's causing your pain per se, but I do feel like you're okay to see your primary doctor.
Right.
And try to prep them for that. So yeah, I think I love hitting a diagnosis, but mostly my job is to be like, hey, how do I stabilize you? Are you safe? Do you need to stay in the hospital? Or
Right.
is this something we can figure out from home?
So let me ask you this. If you weren't a doctor right now and you could pick any ridiculous career in the world you wanted to be, what other thing would you say, okay, God, I would go do this?
I don't want to be the head coach. I would never want to be a head coach. I would be an offensive coordinator.
For the Philadelphia Eagles?
No, God, no. For an NFL or college team. Dude, I could do that all day. Like, I would write plays. I have so much fun doing that. I would not want to be a head coach and run the whole team. I just want my little niche of like, we're on offense, we're going to score, here's how we're going to do it. I think that would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could go back to, your high school self, go back to high school Joel, what would you want to say to him?
I'd be like, dude, get ready, hang in there. Like, I'd be like, we're gonna be all right. I don't think I could change anything, because I think, you know me for so long. I've had so many ups and downs, and like, I like to, to me, I believe that I'm headed to being the type of man, the type of person that I want to be, and I think I've come a long way. And when I was younger, like, I was like, sometimes I was kind of a turd, and like, I was also oftentimes like selfish, and like I would do things that like, again, it's not like, now when I think about it, I'm like, that's like a totally different person. Like, sometimes my mom will bring up like something from when I'm younger. I'm like, I don't even really remember that person because it doesn't feel like me. And so I think like I wouldn't want to change too much, because I think going through those things would change who I am now. I don't know if I would have the same awareness of like what I wanted, like who I wanted to be. But I do think I would just offer a little bit of encouragement and just be like, hey, like, it's me. What up from the future?
Right.
Like, we like, yeah, just hang in there. Like,
It's going to be awesome.
maybe don't react so extremely to these few things.
You're good. Not quite that important.
Yeah. Just give it a little bit of time to see how things. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I remember you had a dream. You were convinced that you were going to get old, you make a lot of money, and you were going to buy a school, and how great the school would
This
be.
is the best idea.
It's not a good idea. You
People
want to buy
have
a
done
school
it.
to live in, like a commune. You're like, because it's got a gym in it. Then you're like, it's got a cafeteria where I could have a chef, and you could just make all this stuff, and it would just be available.
This is a great idea. I
just-
don't want to say I stole this idea, but when I took creative writing, one of my when I went to community college in North Carolina, one of my teachers said, good writers borrow and great writers steal. And now that sounds kind of shady, but at the time it was really like, wow. And so there was this book called Girl Who Owned a City, and it was like this apocalyptic book where all adults died and it was only kids left. And they were trying to figure out what to do. And so they ended up taking over a school, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, dude, you have your friends, they have apartments down the hall. You can get a Segway, you just go zoom, zoom, all the way down, or rollerblades.
Right.
Like you said, gym, cafeteria. I stand by this to this day.
Okay.
It's a great
It's
idea.
not a good idea. My best idea that we've ever had talking through, which is which I'm going to say it publicly, and somebody's probably going to take it, but is a weight loss idea that would address the academic we have right now with people being so heavy in this world, where they just would check in and they would be put to sleep for like a month, and then periodically throughout the month you'd wake them up for their exercise time. So then they get woken up with adrenaline, they work out really hard, then they come back. I'm dead serious. Then they come back and then they just go to sleep, so they would never eat, and they're getting the perfect nutrition. Everything is exactly like what it needs to be. And then they've developed muscles, they've gotten stronger, then they've lost weight, and so there's muscle memory.
Yeah.
So even subconsciously, they've already developed this habit, which I haven't really gotten to delve into that a lot with research, but I think there's something there.
Yeah.
And you said about my idea that what?
It was horrible. It's like everyone's gonna die.
Literally a billion. No, they're not going to die because they're going to be so healthy.
Yeah.
And then they're just going to be asleep, and then they wake up, like maybe we do like a 30-day thing or a 60-day thing. For really certain people, they could do a 90-day thing.
I mean, you could be in the hospital for literally 1 week, and you have to go to rehab to like re-strengthen your legs.
No, but that's why they get
That's
you're
why
not listening to what I'm saying. You get them adrenaline shots, so they're working out every single day.
So you just give them
and
a
then
little
they
heart
just go back
attack
to
every
sleep.
day. You're
They're
like,
not a
hey.
heart. You just don't give them that much. You give them enough for working. So they're working out 2 to 3 hours every day, and then you go right back to sleep. And then when they're rested, their recovery, they got amino acids. I got it all figured out.
Cool.
Peptides.
Amino acids too.
Peptides? Well, they help with the recovery
Yes.
and all this such.
It's almost ready for prime time.
It's almost ready for prime
Yeah.
time. What was the other one, which I do agree now was not a bad idea, which was doing a fat camp in like Asia in a rice field. And then you just stick with me. You bring everybody in, and then they just go there, and then it's like all you eat is like whatever that's there, and then there's no phones, there's no contact, and you just have to work, and then you just eat that, and then you just lose weight.
I think conceptually, from just like a discipline standpoint, the idea of going somewhere, you don't have your phone, you don't have your stuff, like, could work.
Yeah. I still think the first one, somebody's going to steal it and they're going to become a billionaire, but it's okay. Man, I appreciate you being here today. One last thing, if you were to, with all that, where that you've come to this point, any thoughts on like where you want to go, or like some of the edges that you could share, like what you want your life to look like long term?
Yeah.
Or even when you laugh, like, hey, I just want these to be these markers. Like you said value of service. But what else? Like anything else that you're like, hey, man, if I could script it as I'm scripting it, this is what I would like it to look like.
Yeah. I think it's hard because, like, it's been such a long process to get here. And like all of a sudden, suddenly overnight, it feels like I have everything I ever wanted, everything I've been working for over a decade now. I have, and so I'm so unbelievably happy with it that I could understand, like, an NFL player that goes through college, gets to the NFL, and they just like stop. You're like, what happened to them? It's like they got to where they planned to go, and then they didn't have a vision for it.
They're at the top of the mountain.
Exactly.
They didn't have another
And
mountain.
I never understood that. And now I kind of do. I'm like, man, like, I'm so happy. Like, I'm cool with this. But then I remember, like, you got to challenge yourself to keep looking forward. And so I think moving forward for me, I would love to grow what we're doing with FTR, right? Like, we've been able to put thousands and thousands of dollars back into the community, like buying food for families, buying gifts for kids, buying school supplies for kids. I want to be able to grow that. And I've always wanted it to be that when patients came in to see me in the ED, that it was likely not the first time they've ever seen my face, that they have seen me out in the community doing stuff to try to make like all of us better. And that it just happens to be like, hey, I know this person, and now I happen to be their doctor. So I think looking forward, I want to be able to keep growing my ability and resources to keep building up whatever community I'm living in, and then spread out and just keep doing that, to like have people see me on the ground doing work and kind of, showing up with like what my core value is, and putting that into action where you can just see me out and doing stuff. I want to keep growing into being like a better husband, right? A better family member, and just like take those 6 months, 1 year check-in and say, hey, what are my core values? And what I'm doing, is that still in line with them?
Right.
And I think if I can do those things consistently, then I'm gonna be exactly where I want to be.
I love it. There's no doubt you're going to do and accomplish much. I tease you a lot. I mean, it's just hard to believe that the kid who because we would always do these dares all the time, who said, I can eat a pound of hot dogs in 3 minutes with hot dog buns. We literally ran to the store, came back, made hot dogs with the buns, and you were convinced that it didn't matter what the amount of money was, that you could do it. And I think you got 2.5 through, and it was like, this
That was
isn't going to
way
happen.
hard. Yeah, that was way harder than I thought.
Yeah, way harder. But it's hard to believe that kid, has gone through, and even the ups and downs that you've gone through, and dude, like you said, the ability to push ahead is just something not everybody has. We all have the ability, but sometimes people stop. But it's inspired me. Thank you for always being so supportive of me. I want to end with one last question. I kind of think I know the answer to this question. I ask people this a lot, but I'll let you answer it. God said, hey, you can pick up the phone, FaceTime heaven right now. You get to talk to whoever you want. Who would you call, and what would you want to say?
Oh man, I mean, it's
I know
be
it's your
my
bag.
bag.
I know.
Yeah, I think honestly, you know what? This is gonna sound crazy, but I was 13. If I could pick up the phone right now, call heaven, and talk to my dad, I'd be like, hey, tell me about yourself. Right? Because I don't know, like, because we didn't get to like this. I think it's so cool, man, being here with you. Like, you and I get to know each other as men now, right? Like, I'm all like, you all always know me as like from when I was a little kid, but now we get to be friends as like adults. And so I think I would literally just be like, hey, like, just tell me about yourself. Like, let me get to know you as like I'm a man now, like, and like I've done the best I can, and I'm confident with who I am, and so like, just tell me who you are.
Yeah, just be curious about what he was really like. Yeah, what was going on in his head, or how he did certain things day to day. Yeah, that's cool. That's a really great answer. Well, that's good, man. Well, I appreciate you being here. I hope you guys listening to this are encouraged. A couple things. One, it doesn't matter where you start. It's never too late to start over. You don't need to start somewhere great to be somewhere great, but to be great, you have to start somewhere. And then you just have to be willing to persevere. And you are epitome. I've seen it. I've watched you, the ups and downs, continue to do that, live that life authentically. I love the success that's come your way, and I know there's going to be much, much more, and you're going to touch many, many more lives. So thank you for being here. That's a wrap for the Todd Boffo Show today. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.